Welcome to the Intuitive Patterns for the month of July 2022. The cards I'm using today are in the Osho Zen Tarot. I have Completion, the Source, and Laziness. In the Medicine cards, I have Dolphin, Bat, and Snake. In the Mayan Oracle, I have Simi, Ben, and Realm Shift. In the Ancient Egyptian Tarot, I have the Seven of Cups, the Queen of Swords, the Three of Swords. In the Aleister Crowley deck, I've got Strength, Science, and the Hermit. In the Healing Earth Tarot, I've got the Hanged One, Temperance, and the Ten of Wands. And in the Words of Truth, I've got Nonverbal Communication, Truth, Senses, and Love. So, in a nutshell, this month, there is a form of completion manifesting, and it's about the expansion and the opening of the third eye. It is from the third eye that we learn to source ourselves, and we learn to go into that place of calm and quiet, and we get to the deeper places within. When you're in those deeper places within, it's not the same as laziness, because laziness is about entitlement. And when you're sourcing from something deep inside, there's a stillness and there's an unconsciousness that allows the space to create clarity and understanding. Whereas laziness is, in our world especially, is about unwillingness, not willing to do things, entitlement, and we see a lot of that in the world at the moment, and people that thinking that just because they have found maybe success or money or power that they can pretty much do whatever they want, and so they can just kind of sit back and be lazy, and that's, of course, never a constructive pattern. It also is a month that tells us we might as well play, breathe, let the dolphin energy in, because, there's a lot of bat energy, which is about death and rebirth, and we have to learn how to move through the darkness and know how to navigate the darkness with sonar, because the normal ways of seeing no longer function and work. The snake shows us that we've been bitten basically by the negativity of the snake, and we are learning to transmute poisons into something that gives us power and immunity. Also, there is, again, with the Mayan Oracle, it just says there's a lot of death happening, but a beautiful redwood tree falls over and the moss grows on top of it, and it becomes the fertile ground. The death of one thing becomes the fertile ground for another thing, and that is true of all forms of life. And we've got in the Mayan Oracle Ben, which is this incredible, joyous cornucopia of possibilities and the connections between heaven and earth. So we're going to have a real shift in the realms in July. We're also going to have to learn to kind of stand up, take charge, recognize that there's a lot of sorrow and sadness in the world, and there's a lot of things trying to block the feminine, because the Three of Swords is a woman being blocked in a room by a man that's got three swords outside, not letting her move. And that's just not going to happen in America. You're not going to be able to suppress the feminine. It's, good, nice try, Supreme Court, but it's never going to work. And so then also it just says there's more strength here. There's more science coming out. There's more knowledge and information coming forward. And we're being asked to integrate that on a very deeply personal and intuitive level. We're also being asked to be temperate, to not overdo, kind of take things incredibly slow, because there's still a lot of suffering and there's still a lot of people that are going to struggle in this particular upcoming process. So the truth is coming back out. Yay! We are starting to notice different things with our senses because we are no longer numb. Again, yay! And love is starting to become more obvious from a nonverbal place, which I think is good. So this is my interpretation of all of those cards. This month makes me think of the phrase, if you don't know, then don't go. We're really being asked to stop and evaluate before we leap and end up in a place that we don't necessarily want to go. So if you don't have this month a spot of clarity and absolute full body clarity and yes, if it's coming only from your mind without touching your heart or accessing your lower chakras, don't do it. Don't go. It'll just get you in trouble. Because if you're moving this month only from your head without the balance of the heart and love, and without the balance of the truth and the things that are happening within the lower chakras, it'll screw up. So it seems as if so much is rapidly changing. We're kind of in this whirlwind of powerful and progressive change. And we can also feel a little spun out and not sure what to do next. So when one thing finishes, the next one comes in, and life seems without a pause or a chance to catch our breath. That is probably why the Source card is at the center of this month's spread. Sometimes we must stop and let it all drop away so we can reconnect to what is most important in our life. We seek to create spaces externally, but first we need to know those wide and vast internal spaces where we are aware of our eternity and the nature of our infinite self. From there, all things that are relevant will just naturally fall away, and what is left in the emptiness will be the powerful forces of creation itself. When we first seek understanding and insight, that gives birth to a whole new perspective and way of seeing that can transform energy into many forms. This month is about learning to accept endings that will then allow us to embrace a new beginning. The intentional endings pushed upon us by a few were not designed in their minds to generate new beginnings. After all, certain powerful people had the intention to put a block or a stop to things that they personally disliked and wanted to have control over. But all endings are not really endings. They are opportunities to reshape and redo things that were never really done properly in the first place. And now we have that chance. All answers and all laws are naturally incomplete. All things are a work in progress, and that is the key: progress. There are always those old fogies that want to hold back the passage of time, and that is impossible for any organic life form in this reality. And if it is, it's called death. Okay, so I don't think that's where we want to go. Intellectual answers based on opinion and bias always fail. Always. They do not stand on any, if they do not stand on any solid ground and have no sure footings, that means that any construction they created will fall from the slightest wind or a small tremor. This month, we begin to see our own laziness, and there are those in power that think that they have arrived, but their quest for power held the intention of blocking and stopping. That is a form of laziness. It is obvious those souls whose pride in inflated, pompous power, life's work will dissolve and be washed away by those that they tried to control, and history will record their demise gleefully. I see the image of a woman trapped inside a house by a man who has placed 3 swords in the doorway, blocking her from leaving. While it seems as if things are breaking down, this moment and month is actually the beginning of a cycle of recovery. Celebrations are soon to follow, and in this astrological cycle, shifts happen very quickly with all this energy in Aquarius. This month, the illusions and deliberate concealment are seen to be the arrogance of entitlement and intentional self-deception. Truth always shifts the forces of stagnation into, at first, small and incremental change. Truth is the manifestation of divine love in this dimension. Notice the many nonverbal clues that are carefully unwinding the forces of darkness in ways that are intending to soothe the chaos, much like music soothes a savage beast. Arrogance and pride are loud and obnoxious. They separate and purposefully divide. Truth is calm, slow, unifying, and engaging with others. We have been bit by the darker forces, but we have not yet died. And now there is renewal within the joyfulness of life. Because we have touched the other side of darkness, we understand its nature and recognize its scary purpose was to confuse and slow our progress. This month, you may notice that now we can finally begin to breathe and feel into the solutions coming. While they are not yet in full form, they are becoming inspired by our willingness to journey into our own shadow and return with new ways and insights that will help us see past the human distortion waves that will always try to threaten freedom and truth. The nature of all darkness is to inadvertently reach for the light, and that light will respond with strength and love to illuminate that which was hidden from consciousness. Only when we are joined together in a dance of balance can peace be restored and truth given its rightful place. Thanks, everyone.